everyone, it's Jess from Meyer Hatchery. Another really great question we had recently is, what do I do if my chicken gets an ingrown feather on their legs? Now, I really love to raise a lot of birds that have feathered feet, like my friend right here. And I know she doesn't like her feet played with, but I am really mindful when it comes to birds like this, and I know what to watch for when it comes to the ingrown feathers on their legs. Luckily, I've actually never experienced it with any of my birds, but here's what you can do to kind of watch and make sure that your birds are nice and safe and they don't have those ingrown feathers. The first thing is you're going to want to make sure that their coop is clean. That is the easiest way to prevent any sort of issues when it comes to your chicken's legs and feet. So we're making sure that we clean their coop on a regular basis. We're making sure that the coop is nice and dry and that they have a place to go roost in a really good spot, and they also have a place to stand where their feet are going to be nice and dry. Another thing is we're going to make sure that our flock is actually getting the right protein. I know that sounds kind of interesting, but if your bird is not getting the right protein and they're trying to grow those feathers, which is a lot of work, they can actually run into some issues when it comes to developing those feathers on their legs. So make sure that they have the right protein. Another way to prevent those ingrown feathers on their legs, and this is kind of interesting, is to make sure their nails are kept nice and trimmed. So our little friend here, she's actually getting her nails trimmed today because she's broody again. But when we're going through and we're making sure that their nails are nice and trimmed, we're also checking those feet and the legs as well. And that just goes with another way of prevention. Regularly check your flock's feet and legs. We do it pretty much anytime I pick somebody up. I'm checking their feet, I'm checking their legs. They might get a little chicken, I know, she doesn't want a chicken hug, but they might get a quick chicken hug and then I'm putting them in. So I'm kind of incorporating my interacting in with making sure that they look super healthy. Another thing that you can do is if you have birds that have really, really feathered legs and feathered feet, and you're really concerned about them potentially developing those ingrown feathers, you can actually put a little bit of coconut oil on their legs, and it kind of helps to keep their legs nice and kind of soft, and they won't develop those ingrown feathers. Our birds, though, they are really, really strong, and their bodies are built not to develop those issues, although it can happen, and we want to make sure we are prepared if it does happen. It doesn't happen as often. So what happens, though, if you do find an ingrown feather on your chicken's legs? Well, you're going to look for a red bump, and you can usually kind of tell that there may be a feather inside of there. And a really good way to kind of deal with that is you're going to soak your chickens. Oh, I know, she doesn't want to hear that. You're going to soak your chicken's foot in some warm water, their foot and their leg, in some warm water to kind of soften it up. If you notice that you can see the end of that ingrown feather, you can just kind of very gently with some tweezers kind of work that out of there. Sometimes the feather will just come out and become a part of their feathers that are on their legs and near their feet. It may come out all the way. It just really depends. But you want to be very, very careful when you're doing that. You don't want to make your bird uncomfortable. You don't want to pull the feather up. You want to pull down with the direction of how the feather would grow. If you end up pulling the feather completely out and there's a little bit of a kind of an opening there where you just pulled that feather out, you're going to want to put a little bit of antibiotic ointment on that area. If it's a really bad area, they had a really, really ingrown feather on their leg, you can even use a little bit of vet wrap just for a few days while it's healing. Really, the biggest way to prevent it is prevention. Maintaining your coop, making sure your flock has a really good clean area for them, making sure you give them some chicken pedicures, or if they free range a lot, they probably don't need the chicken pedicure, but just checking their feet and legs. Oh my gosh, I know, she wants to go back to her eggs. Hopefully I've given you some tips when it comes to ingrown feathers on your chicken's feet. If you have any questions, be sure to let us know in the comments below. I better get Princess back to the coop. Thank you so much for watching.